It's Thursday, July 13th, and this is now on HNN. Our first alert team is tracking Hurricane Calvin after the storm strengthened slightly in the eastern Pacific. A look at its possible track toward the islands.
The first over-the-counter birth control pill gets FDA approval.
It's a complete failure. I mean, this thing is ridiculous.
I'm satisfied it's a thorough investigation.
The Secret Service ends its White House cocaine investigation with no suspect identified.
Right now, the way compensation is, you have to have a second job.
These stories, plus the Actors Union is joining the writers on strike, rattling the entertainment industry. Details coming up on This Is Now.
Still a long way to go, but we are keeping a close eye on Hurricane Calvin, now spinning in the East Pacific. The latest forecast has the system at a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour. And as you can see here, forecast models seem to be in agreement that Calvin appears to be heading our way.
The good news, however, it is expected to weaken significantly as it approaches the Hawaiian Islands. Our Ben Gutierrez joins us now with an in-depth look.
Well, the latest on Hurricane Calvin, it is still a Category 1 hurricane, still about 2,500 miles to the east-southeast of the islands, and so no threat to land right now. It is starting to get a little bit more organized and look more like a hurricane. Still no eye. According to the current forecast track, it has winds of 80 miles per hour right now. It is moving to the west at 14 miles per hour. Now, it's going to be strengthening just a little bit more. It should be a Category 2 hurricane sometime tomorrow with winds around 100 miles per hour. And then it's going to start hitting cooler water, and that's going to be good for us because that means it's going to knock down in intensity back to a Category 1 with 85 mile per hour winds. As it gets closer to the islands, we're expecting it to enter the Central Pacific Hurricane Center's responsibility area sometime either late Sunday or early Monday, and you can see that it's going to be a lot weaker by the time it gets closer to us. Now, you can also see the fact that the forecast track is aimed almost squarely at the islands, and so it could the center could go anywhere to the left, to the top, or to the bottom of that. But right now, what effects can we possibly have from this? Well, here's what we're looking at the moment. For the weekend, it's looking pretty good. We're looking at your normal trade wind weather conditions, but here comes the circulation from Calvin. What will happen, according to the current forecast models, is it'll give us a little bit more rain, especially for the islands of Hawaii, maybe Maui, stronger winds from the northeast, and that will be mainly on Wednesday before it moves away on Thursday. So just be prepared for that. We're still early in the hurricane season, and once again, Calvin, not going to be a threat to us as a hurricane, but we will start seeing impacts from that as we head into Tuesday, but definitely by Wednesday.
Ben, thank you so much for that forecast. I got a couple questions for you. Right now, how concerned should the people of Hawaii be about impacts from Calvin?
Well, there are three main impacts that we're looking at. One of them, of course, is going to be rain. So we could see some flooding rain, especially for the eastern end of the state. Wind might be a factor depending on how strong it is, because even if it is a tropical depression, we're still talking about winds 35, 40 miles per hour thereabouts, and those are sustained winds, not gusts. The other one that we're looking at is also going to be some higher surf that will be possible for east-facing shores. So again, mainly Hawaii Island areas that may not be used to high surf should be prepared for that, but that's probably going to start coming in Monday, Tuesday, thereabouts. Monday and Tuesday actually will be nice days as far as those go, but by Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday, we're going to start seeing more impacts.
And we know the forecast constantly changes. As you mentioned, it is still too early to tell if exactly or what we will see from Calvin. But for some of our viewers who are unfamiliar with this, how accurate are these models? How much can we trust them right now.
They've been getting more and more accurate over the years. In fact, one thing that we've noticed about this particular forecast is that the forecast cone of uncertainty is actually pretty thin on this one. It's very narrow, and so what we're looking at right now is that as over the past few years, the track has gotten more accurate. What is more concerning about this one now is basically how soon it's going to get here, because we still have some variations in not necessarily intensity or forecast track, but how fast it's going to go as far as it goes over the Pacific toward us. But the good news right now is wherever its track is, it's going to be moving over cooler water. That's going to knock the strength out of it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this first alert forecast, Ben. And Ben will be back later on in the show with a look at your island weather over the next few days.
HPD is investigating a hit and run that may have been the result of a police chase. Ring video shows a white car backing into a parked blue pickup truck in a Cunha neighborhood on Monday, July 3rd at around 8 at night. The car then takes off, and a short time later, an HPD SUV vehicle slowly passes the accident scene and then also leaves. The truck was damaged. Witnesses said the officer had been chasing the white car, and multiple sources tell Hawaii News Now it may have been a silent chase where the officer does not notify dispatch.
Pursuit, which is undeclared or silent, which is in violation of policy. Then there's an accident that he just seems to ignore and drives off without doing what he's supposed to do, which is to stop, notify the owner, make a police report.
It's obvious that something occurred there. The alarm's going off, the flashing lights. If you're a police officer, you're going, something's going on here. I'm going to stop and investigate.
The owner of the truck, who declined an on-camera interview, said she turned over the Ring camera video to HPD. In a statement, a police spokesperson said the case is classified as a motor vehicle collision fled scene and will be forwarded to the Pursuit Review Board. An internal investigation has not been initiated, and the officer remains on full duty.
A Honolulu Police Department recruit accidentally shot himself at the academy on Wednesday. H&N has confirmed the recruit shot himself in the leg at the facility on Waipahu Depot Road. He was taken to the hospital in serious condition. HPD issued the following statement saying, quote, during a training exercise at the indoor range, an HPD recruit accidentally discharged his department-issued firearm. He sustained non-life-threatening injuries and was taken to the hospital for further treatment. No one else was injured.
Honolulu bars and restaurants that serve alcohol will soon be required to have the overdose antidote Narcan on hand. The Honolulu City Council passed Bill 28. Free starter doses for all liquor licensees will be provided by the Honolulu Liquor Commission, and the city will use some of its opioid settlement funds to buy replacement doses. The mayor plans to sign the bill, making Honolulu the first major U.S. city to require Narcan in so-called high-risk venues.
Meanwhile, on Hawaii Island, over 700 doses of Narcan spray were distributed to bars, restaurants, hotels, clubs, and other establishments. This voluntary initiative aims to enhance public safety and ensure the well-being of patrons by equipping licensed establishments with a potentially life-saving tool. The distribution project was carried out in close cooperation with the State of Hawaii's Department of Health, the Office of the Attorney General, and the Kumukahi Health and Wellness Center.
In another blow to the entertainment industry, the union representing actors will be on the picket line tomorrow after failing to reach a deal with the major Hollywood studios. Now, this is in addition to the Writers Guild strike that began back in May. Chris Holmstrom reports from Los Angeles.
Hollywood is grinding to a halt after SAG-AFTRA, the union representing thousands of actors, voted to strike.
We had no choice.
Fran Drescher, star of The Nanny, is the union's president.
I cannot believe it, quite frankly. How far apart we are on so many things. How they plead poverty, that they're losing money left and right when giving hundreds of millions of dollars to their CEOs.
Many members of the union had already been on the picket line supporting the Writers Guild, which has been on strike since May.
They've been incredibly helpful and they bolstered our numbers.
Like the WGA, the actors union wants increases in basic pay, higher residuals for streaming content, and protection surrounding the use of artificial intelligence. The labor action comes as Hollywood struggles to adjust to major changes in the entertainment industry.
Theatrical box office is still down 25% or more versus pre-COVID. Linear television, broadcast and cable is dying a slow death. Audiences are shrinking and aging out of the advertiser-friendly demographic. And finally, in streaming, it requires enormous capital to compete with Netflix and build a worldwide competitive scripted television channel.
In a statement, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers wrote, "We are deeply disappointed that SAG-AFTRA has decided to walk away from negotiations. This is the union's choice, not ours," adding the move will deepen the financial hardship for thousands who depend on the industry. Chris Holmstrom, CBS News, Los Angeles.
U.S. officials have approved the first over-the-counter birth control pill, a major change that will broaden access for women and teenagers. The FDA's decision means drug maker Perrigo can sell its once-a-day O-pill without a prescription. Previously, all birth control pills required a doctor's note. Perrigo won't start selling the pill until early next year. Hormone-based pills have long been the most common form of birth control in the U.S. Medical societies and women's health groups have pushed for wider access. They note that young women and those from low-income and minority backgrounds face extra hurdles getting a prescription.
The U.S. Secret Service has closed their investigation into the cocaine found at the White House. Now, they've cited a lack of physical evidence, and they're unable to identify a suspect. CBS's Natalie Brand has more.
The Secret Service says it did not find sufficient DNA evidence on the bag of cocaine, and surveillance video did not turn up any investigative leads. In a statement, the agency says without physical evidence, the investigation will not be able to single out a person of interest from the hundreds of individuals who passed through the vestibule where the cocaine was discovered. The drug was found at the White House earlier this month in a cubby used by visitors to store cell phones before entering the West Wing. House oversight members received a briefing on the investigation. Republicans say they're frustrated with a lack of answers.
They told us they don't know who it is, and it's a complete failure. I mean, this thing is ridiculous.
For me, it's just interesting that every time there's something strange going on with the president, Biden, or his family, or anything regarding his administration or the White House, no one can ever seem to find an answer.
I'm satisfied it's a thorough investigation. It seems like there's a constructive dialogue that's going on between the Secret Service and the White House about what might be done to further improve security there.
Democrat Jamie Raskin says members were told the White House was fully cooperative with the probe. President Biden and the First Lady were at Camp David the weekend the cocaine was found. At the White House, I'm Natalie Brand, CBS News.
Well, there's a major shift on the horizon for student loan borrowers and the U.S. economy. For the first time since March 2020, they'll have to start repaying their student loans. Karen Kafa is in Washington with more.
Lots of borrowers were waiting on the U.S. Supreme Court to make a decision on the Biden administration's plan that would have forgiven up to $20,000 in student debt for some. But with the court striking down that plan 2 weeks ago, a big change is on deck this fall. After a 3-year pandemic pause, federal student loan interest will begin to accrue again in September and payments will resume in October. A recent study by Moody's Analytics found as many as 5 million student loan borrowers will need to resume average payments of close to $275 per month and warned of an economic slowdown as borrowers shift budget priorities. Other economists, like John Diamond of Rice University's Baker Institute Center for Public Finance, say the dialing back of consumer spending will help further ease inflation.
I think at the end of the day, whatever positive effect we would have seen from increased consumption would have been offset by the Fed raising rates a little more than they would have to otherwise.
During the shift, Diana Furchtgott-Roth, former chief economist at the Labor Department during the George W. Bush administration, says borrowers have a strong job market on their side.
It's a great time to be looking for a job. Yes, they have to repay their student loans, but on the other hand, there are all these jobs available. both in the public and in the private sector.
The Biden administration has rolled out new options for borrowers ahead of fall repayments. Some will be eligible for a new income-driven repayment plan that could lower monthly bills and reduce the overall amount paid back over the lifetime of a loan. For those meeting certain income thresholds, monthly payments could be as low as $0. Some parts of the program take effect this summer, others in July 2024. And federal student loan borrowers can go to studentaid.gov to see if they are already enrolled in a repayment plan, if they need to change that repayment plan, or if they need to apply. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
A feral pig problem has some Pacific Heights residents getting help from hunters this weekend, but some neighbors are against the plan. Mahealani Richardson has both sides.
Oh my God, here come more. 3, 6, 8, 9. Wow.
Martha Noya says she's scared that smaller swine mean bigger feral pigs by her house in Pacific Heights.
They snorted and started moving toward us.
Residents have spotted them in yards, on the street, and pigging out on their property.
Yeah, babies and mommy.
During the cover of darkness,
Yeah, you see them?
this drove of pigs was running hog wild.
We got to get rid of them. We have to either eradicate or contain them.
We're underneath a home and you can see where the feral pigs have left their track marks. And then when you look at these poles, there are these strange splotches of mud. Now we're told that's where the pigs like to scratch their backs. And then when you come into this yard, there are pig droppings everywhere. And in the hot sun, it stinks. Are you going on a buta hunt?
No, I don't think so.
Resident Stanford Masui enlisted pig hunters to trap and kill the invasive animals. But other residents like Andrea Hampshire say they're opposed to it. She's worried about people's pets potentially running into their hunting dogs.
I think it's really unsafe. It's also part of nature. We live surrounded by the jungle in this neighborhood. It's very close, and when you live up here on the hill, you kind of sign up for wildlife to spill over.
There is a list of addresses that we'll be addressing.
The Pig Hunters Association of Oahu president says hunters will set up traps only on private property with permission. They don't use guns, but compound bows, knives, and hunting dogs.
I make sure the hunters' dogs have GPS. Along with their GPS and tracking device, we have shockers on top. We can shock the dog turn around and come back to us.
He says everything caught is made into smoked pork and sausage. His team caught 80 feral pigs in neighboring Nu'uanu in a month, and the plan is to come to Pacific Heights this Friday and Saturday. Reporting from Pacific Heights, Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
NOAA has upped their reward in the search for the person responsible for intentionally killing a Hawaiian monk seal in West Oahu. The reward is now $8,800. NOAA was originally offering $5,000, but the community is chipping in extra funds to find the suspect. Investigators found the body of monk seal Malama on March 12th at Ohikikolo Beach, which is between Kea'au Beach Park and Makua Valley. Her cause of death was blunt force trauma. Malama was born in June 2022 on Manana Island, a state seabird sanctuary. She was rescued last year because she showed signs of malnourishment after weaning. The Marine Mammal Center nursed her back to health and she was released back into the wild in January. Anyone with information on Malama's death is being asked to call NOAA's enforcement hotline. Their number, 800-853-1964.
Extreme weather is blanketing much of the U.S. this week, and experts warn more could be in store. The dangerously high temperatures are tracking with the rest of the world's climate records, showing that the planet is heating up. Gloria Pazmino explains.
Record high temperatures, dangerous scorching heat, and no sign of relief. Over the next week, nearly 70% of all Americans will see temperatures at or above 90 degrees. The current heat wave continues to intensify, putting around 100 million people under heat alerts from the West Coast to South Florida.
It's definitely too warm inside the house, and I wanted to get them out, so it was a good idea to come to the pool.
The situation is extreme in Arizona, where temperatures in Phoenix have reached 110 degrees every single day this month. So far, the Maricopa County Department of Public Health has confirmed 12 heat-associated deaths.
Since we've been recording heat-related deaths back in 2006,
This is the highest number we've seen, and it's a real significant increase.
It's not just the heat.
The wind's kicked up really hard and really fast, and it's like basement now.
According to the Storm Prediction Center, there were 75 storm reports across the U.S. on Wednesday alone. 5 tornadoes were reported near Chicago, forcing thousands of passengers at O'Hare International Airport to shelter in place. For areas in the Northeast already devastated by catastrophic floods, more rain is on the way.
Unfortunately, in parts of the state, we're now expecting severe thunderstorms, which could bring more flash flooding, hail, and even the threat of a tornado.
I'm Gloria Pasmino reporting.
Nothing that severe here in Hawaii. Let's take you outside live to Kauai right now. I want to tell you quickly about a earthquake that was just reported off of Hawaii Island. It came in as a 4.6 magnitude, but it was far off of Hawaii Island, and no major damage or threats to land have been reported. For more on your island weather, let's go ahead and send things back over to our Ben Gutierrez.
We're keeping a close watch over the next 7 days with lots of sunshine for Thursday and Friday. As we head into the weekend, we'll get a few more clouds and windward and mountain showers, along with those breezy trades. But again, a first alert as we look ahead toward Wednesday with possible impacts with increasing rain and some stronger winds from Tropical Cyclone Calvin. Well, it's still quite a ways away, and it's still a high amount of uncertainty, but be prepared as we head toward the middle of next week.
All right, let's see what the internet is talking about. I love these stories. Some dramatic scenes out of Iceland show lava still shooting from a volcano eruption. Tourists are hiking for hours to see the spectacular sight up close. Tina Kraus has the story.
Lava is still bursting from the ground in Iceland, unleashing a stunning spectacle 4 days after a volcanic eruption.
You see pictures, you think you know what it is, but you can get there and it doesn't feel real looking at it.
Some tourists are hiking up to 12 miles to see the awe-inspiring scene up close.
It's pretty incredible when you see it for the first time appearing in the distance.
It's the third volcanic eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula in just 2 years and comes after scientists recorded more than 4,700 earthquakes in a matter of days.
We seem to have entered into a new eruptive cycle here in southwest Iceland. The peninsula hasn't been active in many, many centuries.
Streams of molten lava and clouds of gases are spewing from the site about 20 miles from Iceland's capital city of Reykjavik. Authorities are warning lava lovers to be careful of toxic air.
I didn't realize you could actually get this close, so that was a pretty big surprise. But it's amazing. Yeah, definitely a once in a lifetime.
And for those looking to tick a volcanic venture off their bucket list in such a seismic hotspot, there's more where that came from. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Well, beautiful images out of Iceland. Unfortunately, Kilauea no longer looks like that, but when it is erupting, we ain't got to go far to see sights just like that.
And it blows my mind how close people in Iceland get to it.
Yeah, that would not be okay here. A little bit too close. Let's go ahead and check out some good news now. If you were part of the Amazon shopping spree on Prime Day, you have helped set a record. Amazon scores its largest Prime Day in company history. Consumers spent $12.7 billion total during the sales on July 11th and July 12th. That's a 6.1% rise from a year ago. Amazon said July 11th was the single largest sales day in company history, but it did not provide any more details. Shoppers bought 375 million items over the 2 days. That's up from 300 million last year. I know, Ashley, you and I also went shopping. Tell everyone, what did you buy?
Well, this is definitely the most I've bought on a Prime Day, and I blame the baby. It's mostly baby stuff.
Of course.
I bought a fake tree for the house.
Decoration is important. We needed a new vacuum, so I got a vacuum and a new, kind of nerdy of me, a steam cleaner. Just because I love
adults. Yes.
You know, you are an adult when steam cleaners and vacuums excite you. Yes. We're going to end today with one more live look outside over Kauai's South Shore. It is a beautiful day. Hopefully you're able to get out and enjoy it.
Aloha.